I, of course, had read Eddy's book, Science and Health, before I ever started to interact with Christian Scientists. Here are some of the passages that stood out for me in assessing whether this woman represents a profoundly advanced spirituality or archetypical religious nonsense. On page 12, we find the basic tenet of Christian Science, where she quotes from the Bible James 5:15, "The prayer of faith shall save the sick." Note well that the sentence does not say prayer might save, or will help save, or will generally save, or will sometimes save, or can save. It says it shall save the sick. And that is not true. Many, many people have been prayed over, yet nonetheless have died. Page 161, quote, "Holy inspiration has created states of mind which have been able to nullify the action of flames." That is not true. Any Christian Scientist who holds his finger within a flame for 5 seconds will be severely burned no matter what kind of faith they have. Of course, they'll say one should not flaunt this power. Who said anything about flaunting it? I'm just asking for a simple, quiet demonstration. Mary Baker Eddy says on page 329, we must prove our faith by demonstration. I think of Christian Science theology as Roadrunner cartoon theology. When Wile E. Coyote accidentally runs off a cliff, he has no problem staying in the air running until he looks down and realizes he has just run off a cliff, and only then does he start to plummet. I myself once momentarily hoped that if I imitated Superman's takeoff technique, maybe, just maybe, I could fly. But I was 6 years old at the time, so I have an excuse for thinking that. Mary Baker Eddy has no excuse. Page 200. Life is, always has been, and ever will be independent of matter. The exact opposite is true. Life is dependent on matter. Take away air, and a person will die. Page 199. Not by muscular exercise, but by reason of the blacksmith's faith in exercise, his arm becomes stronger. What an utterly false statement. By that logic, every variety of weight-reducing gimmick pitched by scam artists should actually work for the credulous people who believe in them. By that logic, if I believe eating chocolate cake will improve my tennis serve, it should work. The book as literature. I think it is astounding that presumed sacred literature, like the Book of Mormon and Science and Health, are considered by its adherents to be exceptionally insightful writing, when in fact the quality of the writing is abysmal. The Book of Mormon is terminally repetitive. Science and Health is appallingly vague and contradictory. They are the two most boring books I've ever read in my life. A knowledgeable Unitarian minister told me it was a Unitarian minister of Eddy's day who revised it for her to try to bring it to some sort of coherence out of the mess that it was in. And it's been through dozens of revisions since. Yet, we can still find an idiotically muddled sentence like this one on page 88, quote, "When eloquence proceeds from the belief that a departed spirit is speaking, who can tell what the unaided medium is incapable of knowing or uttering?" What? The final part of her book is called Fruitage. It's about 100 pages of all kinds of healing claims. They are all anecdotal. They are the very antithesis of carefully controlled studies subject to peer review by medical experts, the very antithesis of real science. When Christian Scientists speak of affidavits, to support these claims, then you realize you're dealing with people who do not understand the difference between science and pseudoscience. An affidavit is simply a legal oath the person swears that he is telling the truth. It has nothing to do with valid scientific protocol. Do you think the world would accept the claims of scientists to have produced cold fusion on the basis of affidavits if they said, "Oh yes, we swear we did this"? Of course not. Both science and common sense require real evidence, demonstration under controlled conditions. Here are some of her quotes on disease and injury. Page 421, there is no disease. 218, treat a belief in sickness as you would sin, with sudden dismissal. Page 389, the less we know or think about hygiene, the less we are predisposed to sickness. 154, the better and more successful method for any mother to adopt is to say, "Oh, never mind, you're not hurt, so don't think you are." Presently, the child forgets all about the incident and is at play. Yeah, sure, that assessment may be true in some cases, but unconscionably cruel in other cases. There was an excellent article in Atlantic Monthly, April 95, written by a former Christian Scientist entitled Suffering Children in the Christian Science Church. A couple of quotes from this article. Page 106. But the records that have already been released suggest that Andrew's case is similar to those of a number of other Christian Science children who have died and continue to die of diabetes, ruptured appendixes, measles, diphtheria, blood poisoning, cancer, and other illnesses that are curable or treatable with modern medicine. Page 110. At the branch church my family attended, no one ever acknowledged the obvious illnesses or infirmities of other members. The man with the goiter, the elderly woman whose arthritis was so bad she could barely walk, the woman with a disfiguring skin condition. The protocol was to pretend these things simply didn't exist. Conclusion. Let me conclude with a few historical observations. One is that medicine was at its infancy during Eddy's day, and patients would very often fare better without medical treatment. And this provided fertile soil for mind cure and prayer cure groups like Christian Science to push their ideas as the better way to deal with medical problems. Secondly, the medical community today is not stupid, and it is filled with people entirely oriented towards helping people heal. If Christian Science were true, then the whole body of medical research and experience would have been, this many years after Mary Baker Eddy's death, overwhelmingly conclusive by now that she was right. And virtually all hospitals today would in fact be Christian Science healing centers. But that is not the case, because Christian Science is not true. Thirdly, Robert Peel's definitive biography of Eddy documents her use of morphine for the pain of kidney stones. There's a hypocrite for you. Do as I say, but not as I do. Other biographies go so far as to describe Eddy as a morphine addict. I agree with Mark Twain, who used to call Mary Baker Eddy the Queen of Frauds. Fortunately, the Christian Science religion is dwindling. It's graying. It's not prospering. There's less than 100,000 in this country compared to millions of Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses. Other New Age movements are attracting the wishful thinking contingent today. Of all the denominations of Christianity I've studied, I think Christian Science is among the worst. The people are friendly enough and non-judgmental in many ways, but their core belief that disease is illusionary is unconscionably harmful. Children especially suffer. Christian scientists should be ashamed of themselves for the nonsense they believe in.